guys could quiet down a little bit, please. So, guys, thank you. I'm Marissa. I'm with Alliance Lighting. Many of you already know me. This is Eric. He's from Inter-lux. He is our gracious presenter today with our More with Less presentation. Please sign in. There are 3 sign-in sheets being passed around. Make sure you put in your AIA number so you get credit for this one. And I'll let Eric take over.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, gang. So More with Less. We're going to show a little AIA presentation. At the end, I'm going to try to fly through a couple of situations on how we can help you do it better as well with Inter-lux and Alliance as well. So More with Less. I need to you can get this off the screen. It's not switching. It's not allowing it to switch for that. Go away.
There we go.
Thank you. Yes. So Marissa passed out the sign-up sheet. So make sure your number's legible, and we'll get you added into the AIA database there for us. So it is AIA. So the first part, of course, I want to keep it very neutral and it's open-ended. So if you have any questions on any of these slides, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll go through them. But a little bit of the description, we want to offer you guys the space makers that toolkit for being, that easy to install and communicate with lighting decisions. So it's not just about the fabrics and the scale and the volume of the size that you're doing in the space, but how do you want to light it? So we want you guys to be, understand all the fundamentals of the vision and how it all works with lighting, through the lighting. So some of the objectives, of course, what we have nowadays, you have it all in your space as well, very beautiful. But I want you guys to be comfortable with placing the light yourself. Not every project allows the budgets for lighting designers. So be comfortable with saying, I want the light to come from here and go to there. How do we do that? And of course, always use your reps to help simplify that process. Of course, knowing the fundamentals of lighting and how it proceeds in a space. We want to get through all through these things today and a little bit more. So, the lighting technology has changed. And because of that, we demand more with less. We want more emotion. We want more of the wow factor, but yet less detailing. It should be that much easier nowadays with the new technologies that we offer. Some of the processes that we're going to go through is the controllable aspects of design lights. Also, like how to process it and the layers of the application. Where's the light coming from? How much light? Dimming, occupancy sensors, everything else. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I want to teach you a little bit more about the color and making sure you're choosing the right color for that space as well that you're designing. And also the space, architectural integration versus the, you want a big focus point in there of a chandelier. So we're going to try to talk a little bit about and then just putting it all together. So at the moment, it's LED technology. We're talking about it for 20 years. It's not just a pen light anymore. They're putting light where they want it, when they want it. They finally have the technology for us. It's not the efficient light bulb that we all saved hundreds of dollars on our own energy bills, just 10 year ago when we screwed in that curly Q. But what it did when we went to that, jumped to that route with the fluorescents and just saving money, that was great. But what did it do to your architectural space? So, okay, hey, we went to Home Depot and these were on sale. So you screwed in this beautiful, cool blue light in this beautiful, warm kitchen that you have, whether it's yourselves or clients. And yes, you saved a lot of energy, but now this warmth and everything that you're trying to create was washed away with not using the right color at the same time. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that and get to the next level. So for generations, the innovative architects have struggled with electric light. So it was too big, it was too clunky into this plenum spaces. We didn't have enough room to really achieve what we wanted to do. Nowadays, we have that technology right at our hands, and we're going to put it where you want it, when you want it, how much you want there. So the vanguards of past 100 years have, be so proud to have the palette that you guys have to design from with electric light tools. So seeing is how we experience. So that's how we do it. So the eye is always attracted to the brightest point in space. When you enter a space, you tend to scan it horizontally, looking for that contrast. What are we looking for? And that's how we experience the light and the vision. So when you come in, it's all about that vertical luminance. So if you're trying to attract somebody in the back, it's not just a flooded conference room like this. If you're trying to get them to the back, let's emphasize more light into the back and light it appropriately where you want it. So when you do, you're making your lighting decisions and understanding the effects you have in mind, you can do more with less. So providing the vertical brightness, right? Volumizing that space, inviting it in, pulling the textures out of what you're trying to achieve, with that beautiful architecture. It's really great to come to that space and see the textures and the finishes that you're all worked on. But we have to light it correctly. If you don't light it correctly, you're going to ruin that architectural element that you worked on. So the Vision One system, you can see at moonlight, right? You can walk around, the contrast is different, your eyes do focus to it. So you're going to get used to any vertical brightness. But we talk about lighting now in an environment in different spaces. Of course, the engineers are saying, oh, but we need 50-foot candles on the vertical. That's codes now, but LED is changing that. It is because it's about the understanding the value of the light and the quality of the light than just having a vertical, the horizontal work plane being the proper light levels. So you're going to start seeing some of that coming around our ways. So another example of where a little light can go a long way is you don't see pedestrian poles. That would blow the contrast of what they're trying to illuminate here. But yet we're still meeting the codes that they're needing. We have wayfinding, we have security. So it's all about how you're going to approach that space and light the space, or interior or exterior space. What happens when you strip it all away, and start from the ground up? It's about lighting the other surfaces. It's not just putting a downlight in the center of the space. You don't need that anymore. Not every light needs to come from above. You can start lighting those horizontal surfaces, vertical surfaces, and really open up the space, and the perception of light is much better, much easier in the space, much more comfortable. So how do we light the light? We can approach the lighting design differently, but it's all about, there are different times of the day, different weather, whether you're doing the beautiful open windows during the summer, what's it look like in the winter? The sun's at a different angle. You're still trying to achieve that same dynamic all year round throughout the space, day and night. So it's about the electric light tools that are going to keep that space of yours looking architecturally pleasing all year long, all day long. And it's going to reveal that shape and textures that you're trying to show in the architecture. So another example of one of our innovators, built from the ground up is, think of light and not the luminaires. So it's not about the fixtures. It's not about that eye-catching chandelier. It's about blending that light and making that daylight, that artificial light, into your daylight, bringing that concept together in a space. But the different tactics are, we talk about it, letting the light in. This is a beautiful, space there, but what happens at night when you lose the other concept and you just put on the downlights? Now you're just flooding this space. You're not getting that same inviting, concept that you're wanted when you looked at that space. So there are different ways of lighting it and approaching that space every time you are doing your design. So, and what is it about? It's about the surfaces. You gotta hit those surfaces that you're trying to attract to. So let's talk a little bit about the surfaces. How does it interact? You can't see light. We don't see light. You're seeing the reflection of the light. It's just an energy source, and it's reflect off of glass. So you need to frost it so you get that different textures and environment in the space. But again, textures are the driving, agonizing pain that we have, is to bring those textures out, right, properly. What time of day? What we're showing here is, all right, do we graze it to show that texture? And you got different color temperatures showing on the same product, whether it's daytime or nighttime as the sun goes down. Even with our electric light, we can achieve all these details for you if that's what you're looking for. We need to come off a little and flood this with a different color temperature, and that's what you're trying to achieve, to blend into another space maybe. Or here, we just love the texture, but we want to see that contrast of that texture. How do we do that? So this is a great example of showing how to pull that texture out. And of course, you always have the reps of lighting samples to do your mock-ups. You have beautiful rug samples here. You got to let's light them. Let's see what it looks like with the different color temperatures. Let's see what we can pull out, what colors we can pull out with the different CRI color temperatures. So think carefully, like we said, time and day, what's the environment, what are we trying to light? Light, if you put your arm inside a fish tank, it refracts, it looks like it's broken, right? Light's doing the same thing. So light is going to show different on every surface, every time you do something. So you need that frost to bring it up. If you're doing dark ceilings, it's going to absorb it. So you got to be careful about what approach you're going to be taking each one. And light doesn't necessarily have to come from above. Like we say, you can build it right into the architectural fabrics of the space and still make it nice and clean, very clean space. Not just the old downlights and scallops. Some people love the scallops. It's an element, But here now you're inviting. You still have you're meeting the codes, the wayfinding, and you know where you're going. Very clean, elegant space. And the tools exist. They've existed for a while. I just went to your men's room, and the typical slot light on the side, right? 12, 14 inches thick, big parabolic. It's been around for years. Same thing. Now you can recess them too without the parabolic. Great. But what is that doing to your space? We still want to mimic that daylight effect, but there are tools out there now that really make it even more clean, more elegant, blending right into the space and still achieving what you're trying to achieve in a space. So that LED is really, now we have less plenum space. Again, we talked about doing more with less detailing. Just put it right up there. Less plenum, less wattage, no big reflector. We have different items now where it's, yes, I have an idea. Beautiful. But now we can do it with this. So much smaller, so much more details, and so, whether it's linear or just the light bulbs, we can still do it. So what would the project look like if you can put light anywhere, from anywhere? Still achieving the wayfinding, visual interest, drawing the eye to it, different angles, wherever you're coming from, still having that beautiful design come alive. So lighting design is the study of where the light should go, how it should get there, and how much light do you really need. So what's the best way to achieve this is doing your sketches. Show us what you're looking for, trying to achieve in a space. There's so many different ways to approach a space now where we have this beautiful column. Let's emphasize the column. But you know what? The column has white marble going down to a nice high gloss, but on the top it's a dark brick. I don't know, your different tones. So do you want like a floodlight down and a tight spot going up to emphasize the brick. There's different ways. So it's, what are you trying to achieve? Do a quick sketch. Then of course we have our horizontal luminance that's required, 500 lux, 50-foot candles, that's great. But do you really need it from a centerpiece? You know, can we achieve it enough with the indirect light and make it more comfortable, cleaning up the space, cleaning up the architecture? There's so many different ways of doing it, and the best way to do it again is have Marissa come in and help you out with some calculations and show you what we can do, you know, and meet all the codes that are required in our challenging spaces. So same thing here. Now we're doing different moods. Now we're talking different times of day on the top and bottom here on the left-hand side. So it's just showing how to emphasize some of these features of the architecture at different times. You know, there are lights out there that can do just something, you know, 180 degrees, beautiful, very tight beams. But what if your design was like, oh, well, you just want to flood this wall? You can put a floodlight off the side of a facade, typically, and then wash that whole wall. You're not emphasizing that whole design or the archways that you were trying to do. Yeah, you'll catch one or two of them, but you're not going to get that same effect. So you got to do these different mock-ups with the different types of products that we have to offer. So when you approach a space, you know, the 5 layers, are we designing just for the visual and wayfinding, or do we want to just design it for the mood and motion? What time of day? When are we going to do it? Is it just for the architecture and accenting, or guess what? We need the form and function. What if we just designed for one of these, applying the light? Okay, your engineer's going to be mad at you for one, but you're going to have this beautiful emphasized feature, which is great. But there's different ways of approaching it that way to still meet all 5 of the corresponding elements. Controllable aspects, you know, simple way we understand it is, all right, we need a dimmer. Nobody wants to go to the wall and dim things anymore. Let's get the op sensor. Let's get the daylight sensors. You know what I mean? So the first row off the windows, it's great. And now you're saving more energy as well without having anybody having to do anything. So it's it really works that way. But what are the different, where's it going to come from? What are we going to do more with the light that goes too? So now let's revisit this project here, right? So Marissa likes this one here.
So Eric talked about a lot earlier that we don't necessarily always need the light to come above. This is a perfect example of it in that we have emphasized lighting the vertical surfaces either from the ground, as you see in the exterior, or even lighting across the ceiling, as you see on the interior. What's really great about this, we'll see all the concepts that he was just talking about, layering the light and pulling your eye through the space so you're directed to come into this lobby space by lighting that back wall. And what's really nice here is they utilize the same fixtures on the interior and exterior, so all the color temperatures are consistent. You have this beautiful spot grazer, so you get this really nice textural element by highlighting these sort of like honeycomb type walls and ceilings. There are a few downlights, obviously, in the interior to kind of light the floor and light that reception desk, but for the most part, you're only lighting the vertical surface.
So what would happen if, you know, God forbid, the VE comes into action and, you know, the contractor, well, you know, we can meet all our codes with just putting a 8-inch can there. Okay, you're still meeting that code. You're going to get a nice little scallop on the wall, still see some of that emphasis of the texture, but you spent so much time and money and detailing on this beautiful architectural element, you don't want to light it incorrectly. You want it to shine and glow and be that inviting, so it's the same as the inside. Same thing with we can just put a wall scoop and go up. All right, now we're still doing it. But now your wall scoop is just flooding that. You're not going to see the texture anymore. So you're flooding the honeycomb feature and it flattens it out. So it's a lot different than when you're trying to perceive into this inviting environment. Here's another one, so a little bit of light can go give you that big meaning here we discussed earlier, now that we know about it. But,
yeah, so again, we're talking about the vertical elements. This is a fun project in that they wanted to create this like jewelry box or this glowing ice cube type issues because, as you see in the photo, there is a video camera for security here. So we couldn't just create a lot of glare, and then you wouldn't be able to see the vertical surfaces, and you wouldn't be able to see the people walking by. So we had to do, again, a lot with a very little amount of light. And all we're using here is just a linear uplight. So it's just sort of grazing the vertical surfaces here. You can see the signage, you can see the glass elements, and then where we have the walkways, we changed it to just a glowing line of light instead of something with optics, so it doesn't blind you as you walk over it. But that's the only element lighting the space, but you can clearly see everything. There's still safety, and there's still wayfinding throughout this whole area.
So, and the challenge was to get this floating cube. So if your glass is not textured enough or frosted enough, it's not going to absorb the light either. So you're not going to get that contrast of that floating element that you're trying to achieve. Same thing if you put downlights here, then now you're brighter down here, and the contrast is going to be different, not give you that architectural element that you're trying to achieve. Pedestrian bollards, pole lights, then you're just going to ruin that whole, element of design. Pretty cool, and I was informed that on the mock-up, originally they did not have enough frost to get what they were trying to achieve.
So,
right. So they had to do a thicker frost on the glass because glass is not going to absorb the light. Clear glass doesn't absorb the light; it just refracts it. So the frost, different thicknesses of frost will absorb a lot more of that glass and give it that true feeling.
Yeah, glass is always tricky. We always recommend put a mock-up if testing it with the light.
So delivering it, let's talk a little bit about where to place it. What tools to use, why to use them, how to use them. Concealed linears. Linears has been big for years, not the past 5-6 years. Everybody loves that 1-inch, 2-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch slots. But if you conceal it, it's much more comfortable. Cold lighting, indirect lighting, even though it's still low, it's still concealed. You don't see the light source at all. So very, very eye pleasing. But what I like showing here on the different contrasts is, yes, we have the beautiful. It's showing compact fluorescent, linear fluorescence back in the day. But what we're showing is you can see how it's different color temperatures throughout, even the light bulbs that persist there. So nowadays with LED, you're not going to have that 4-foot dark spot every time anymore. Now you can do end-to-end lighting with the LED technology and really clean the space up. As nice as that looks, it catches that eye of perfectionist that says, well, wait, something's wrong there. Floor washing, very nice, elegant, cool, still gives you that volumizing glow. That's great. But what I like showing here is you have a light colored floor. Let's light it with a light color temperature. Whereas here, if we use the light color temperature on this warmer colored rug, it's going to wash out and tarnish that emphasis of that dark color that you're trying to do. So you got to really match it up with the color rendering and the color temperatures of the technology lighting tools.
You're also creating a really dramatic space in not having any lights in the ceiling, especially in that corridor. We're just lighting the floor, so you have enough luminance for your book candle requirements with a very simple way of lighting from one side.
Coffers are a great element in the space, giving that artificial skylight effect. Very clean, very nice. Even use it for wayfinding. You have to all around different areas coming up and follow through. So many different ways of doing it now. What's great with that element as well is you can, nowadays with LED technology, you can hide or recess your return air elements in there. So now even cleaning up the space even more, because back in the day you couldn't do that with fluorescent lights. You would flicker the lights and everything else. LED technology doesn't mind the cool. So even the airflow going through. So now you can hide some of those return air elements. Glowing panels, stairwells, very hard to illuminate, So very challenging. So what do? We make it look like an artificial light. We can do the full walls now with different materials. It looks like a lighted fabric that stretch out 70 by 40 feet nowadays. That just looks seamless. really clean and elegant opportunities there. All grazing techniques, of course, the grazing is going to pull out that texture, whereas flooding it, it's still giving the light and still emphasize, but use it in the right color temperature for cooler color temperatures, burn the warm color temperatures. Simple techniques of the accents and pools. You just want to show an element, to attract the eye there, something funky and cool, or you just want to say, wow, there's something back there, let's go see it. Tall columns, just with a nice simple glow, you can really make these things work, whether you're going indirect, direct, showing different scallops and pools. Again, putting the light on the different surfaces, using the walls, to come from below, okay, I'm going to wash this wall. Come from above, then we can do it different ways, whether it be grazing. How far off the wall do you want it from, to show it? You want to just do the panels and give that whole more vertical luminance space. So many different ways to approach it. Use the ceiling as your reflector, right? When you have nice cool colors in the ceilings, you can use that as your reflector. That's really great, and then it's still going to emphasize the whole space. And maybe you can put accents if you're looking for a little more point source, like we just showed on the last slide, to get some more emphasis on the elements. All different surfaces too. So, okay, we talked about floor wash, grazing. We did a lot about grazing. So if we were closer to these raised letters, you'd have all shadows up here. Yes, it'd be bright, but you'd have all this extra shadows. So now you don't want that. You just want to attract the light, light the sign and flatten it out and show that it's being lighted to say, oh, that's what it says. Not graze it here where it's all shadowing and gonna ruin the ceiling type there. Lighting from above, lighting from below. What is it that you're trying to do for that mood? It's different mood lighting that you can utilize as well.
I think the most important thing is to create the visual hierarchy. So determine what's most important to see in the space first. Don't just go in and say, oh, we need a pendant over the conference table. Oh, I need a few downlights. Really think about what you want to light and why you want to light it. So as he was saying, you really wanted to see the signage of this one. So that should be your first priority. And then we want to draw people into the space. So then wayfinding maybe is your second priority. But create that list of hierarchy first and then go and light it.
And that's just integrated right into the architecture where you don't see any of the light sources at all. Nice decorative glow from above or below. Doing more with less, becoming the architecture. Now your lights are part of the architecture. We'll talk a little bit about delivering it, and drawing the attention. So is it integrated into the architecture, or are we going to identify the next luminaire, which is, of course, the chandelier, and being that eye-catching as well? So now we have the contemporary fixtures, lighting a beautiful historical space. So you still need that beautiful light. How are we going to do it? You can still mix and match. Well, become an acoustical element. Everybody does clouds. Everybody makes clouds now. Put a little couple of downlights in there. These actually become part of the architecture, and it works with the acoustical elements as well. Real moss, same thing. You got an echo chamber. You need to emphasize what the hierarchy. What do we need? The echo chamber softened. We need light in the space. Vertical surfaces, doing the horizontals now. Again, you have this beautiful lines that you're trying to achieve, whether it's interior or exterior. Great. Anybody can put a downlight here. It's just going to ruin this whole clean line design that you're trying to achieve in that space. So there are different ways to integrate those LED technologies into the space. Much easier, much cleaner, and cost effective. And putting it all together. So finding that toolkit, making things, minimalize the complexity for you, giving you memorable results, here, we talk about building into the architecture. This is all just indirect cove light, vertical to horizontal. Somebody brought it to our attention last one that this is European installation because they don't have.
There's no sprinklers.
There's no sprinkler heads every 10 feet. So, but yes, but it is lighting into the architecture, and they're getting better on their aspects of design as well to really keep that space very clean throughout, not just for lighting, but full architecture. Same thing here, track lighting. However you're trying to see the space, very challenging space to light, but let's emphasize a few spots and accentuate that the elements in the space as well, not just what lighted or ambient lighted. Another challenging space here is, coming into a lobby, elevator lobby, and you have 3 spaces that you need to blend in together around your architecture. So we need to make sure we got 3 different type fixtures, same concept, but you got to make sure that they're all the same color temperature because the architecture is all the same. It didn't change. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have the same manufacturer, but you got to make sure that their color temperatures match. If you don't want this side of the wall looking different from that side of the wall from different perspective. Plastered in just really brings the space together. Looks very clean. Slot lights or any type of elegance. Again, floating ceiling effect, very clean. See the light source. So that's some of the great concepts of lighting and doing more with less with lighting into your architectural space. If I could, I'm just going to take a few minutes and just explain a little bit about how we can help you, design a space as well. And so Inter-lux, I consider myself, of course, Marissa's European conglomerate. Right? So she has all the lighting needs for your projects to come alive. Of course, you're very familiar with Mark DeVries. He's been here a lot and helps you guys out a lot too. But we got some great, cool products that we're going to do. I show this slide to everybody. I'm so proud of it. So thank you guys for helping us be part of it. It's great. I know you guys won an award on it, and it really helps us show what we're all about. It's that pre and post order service. It's not just lighting manufacturer. We want you guys projects to stay alive forever. So we are here for them. But the first family I do want to reintroduce to you is White Goods. White Goods was founded in London by a lighting designer, Douglas James, and his concept was simple, easy integration of products, families of products, simple to install, simple to maintain. So the claim to fame for us was our knife edge cove. The entire cove system. I know I don't want to stay with them, but what I'm trying to show is the knife edge cove. A more blunt nose, hiding the light, shadowing the fascia. Very clean design. Structural element that mounts to any surface, vertical or horizontal. But you'll never see the light source. So even if you only have a 6-inch, that still getting that usable light. You can see that forward throw of the light. That's a big concept of what it is, but what we have here is any design just mounted to the surface and then you chip up. So very clean, knife edge, nobody on stilts trying to make a straight edge for you. So we make the little extrusion and the light module. So make that space reliable. So even with fluorescent, that's where we were so good with the fluorescents, because we had shadowless corners. Now LED, of course, changed the world, but the best concept for it is we can do any shape, any size. We can wrap the whole building, and we make all the product right here in Baltimore now that we closed the London factory. So what does that mean? Oh, better price points, better lead times. We are the hurry up and wait capital of the world, right? Work on the job for 2 years, contracting it's a week. I know it doesn't happen here. Great concept. Again, small details. We have one that goes down to 3 inches. So we sell just the cove element as well if you're just looking for architectural features that don't need to be lighted. So again, you can blend it right into your architecture that way.
A few other advantages. You guys no longer have to detail the cove yourselves. We do that for you. And the contractors have to build it on site. We do that for you. So it takes a couple of harder points out and makes it much easier for you guys to specify and to use. But not only that, it would come down in price significantly. So it's no longer cost effective for you guys to build your own code and add your own LEDs into it. You might as well buy the entire system because our price point is so low that it's much cheaper for you to just buy the whole system.
And contractors are starting to understand that once you start showing them, like, wow, this is easy. There's other factories out there that sell you a kit and they still have to assemble the kit. No, we make it. We weld the corners. We miter and weld the corners at the factory now. So it's all plug and play.
We ship out the extrusion first, so this gets installed on site, and then we send out the air tray to be installed with it.
And that's what Rich is showing you too, is if you're not fond of the knife edge, the contemporary knife edge, we have the box cove as well. So if you have a cove already built, we can put it up there. Again, less than an inch deep. It's great. Or it's still a finished product, where the knife edge is beautiful and clean. You'll never see anything on the bottom. Here, the extrusion goes to 8 feet, and then you'll see the line. But the same fixed asymmetric lighting tools. So what does that mean? Also, there's a couple of great, cove lights out there, but contractors have to go up and aim it afterwards. So again, that's just another thing that they have to do. And it's about the labor and the ease of installation.
Sorry, and what Eric's saying is that you can use it with any ceiling types. The first thing you saw, it only works with gyp. This could work with a metal or like a wood area. It doesn't matter, and you can still paint the finish to match your surrounding areas.
Go down the wall too, right? We see a lot of 30-foot tall ceiling corridors in these beautiful lobbies, and the high gloss marble on the floors coming in. But all you see is 1,000 diodes bouncing off the brightness from the slot lights that they delivered, from the light fixtures 30 feet above. You can do it with the cove because you're not going to see the light diodes. We're going to filter them and still get the light down there for you. And that's how we make this space come alive with another plastered in. Notice the knife edge here as well. Same product with the knife edge. Chipboard just going in. So we're making all these beautiful extrusions to help simplify that installation for the contractor, for the architect to detail.
Not only that, you guys are always telling me you only have 2 inches of space because you've run out of plenum space, right? Because there's mechanical or spring, and I no longer can install my light there. Well, this fixture is so small that it's basically the thickness of your gyp ceiling. It's 1.1 inches extruded above the ceiling plane. So you can really fit this wherever, and you can create as large as all the code, and you still won't see the light inside the code.
That's how you get the effect of that nice floating ceiling. Again, with that true knife edge, straight line. Wall washers. So now you're plastering nice wall washer for that asymmetric we talked about. Do you want to graze it or do you want to flood it? Or asymmetric, so the same concept, utilizing our nice little 20mm extrusion. So which way are we going to go? Up or down? It's all designed around our 20mm. So we have our 2-inch, we have our 4-inch, everybody has the slot lights, that's great, but we're trying to do more with less. So we still want to help you achieve your lighting needs using less materials, less energy. So here we extended our 20 series. We had this for over 6 years. It's only been getting more efficient, better. Surface mount, plastered in. You guys are familiar with plastered in. I seen the beautiful green kitchenette. That's our plastered in. It's there. What it looked like originally. But what we talk about is, I'm still on that one. What we talk about is the simple installation. The product there, we send like this, but we send it with 2 lenses. So the contractor doesn't have to take off the lens, do his little blue painter's tape to protect the LEDs, and then put it on. So we send them 2 lenses just so they can splat it on, rub it over, and then he's off the site. Nice and easy. Fits into that 5/8 inch gyp. So really great, easy install for new or retrofit applications. You don't have to break any joists or anything else.
All the corners, different angles.
Sorry, skipped ahead there a little bit. So, but surface mount, same thing. We have the surface mount here or the pendant there. Again, this is lighting your entire space now. Paint it black, paint it any color. We make it right here in Baltimore, up the road for us, really helping that space come alive. T's, X, and L's, surface mount. So we talked about stairwells, very challenging to light. What they did there was they routed out the brick and used a magnet mount instead of a clip mount, and they just magneted it into the brick. Now you're meeting the light levels the engineers need. T's, X, and L's. So we talked a little bit about the my surface mount. Ease of installation. Oh, how can you mount it to a 9/16 grid? This is so small. I got to drill a hole every 6 feet for a feed point. This is very hard. It's not easy, the contractors told us. So we said, okay. We made them a magnet mount jig for the clip and for the feed point. So we're doing 50-foot runs, 12 stories high, 50-foot runs, trying to simplify that install for that contractor. It's great. Second floor comes, he said, that was great. Thank you, I needed that. That was great, but I still need to clip this in the, it's one of the prints here. So I have another one here that, oh, here it is, blending in. Doing more with less here. So he said, I love that clip. Can we make the clips toolless for the product? So now he uses his jig, 9/16 or 15/16, makes his holes, doesn't have to make a hole to screw it in anymore because our toolless clip will mount the T-bar grid, and then the product just snaps on, still flush, nice and clean, very easy of installation. And the T's, X, and L's were a big hit for everybody. Lighted corners, no dark spots. But this is the first time we hung it from a pendant. Now we started just hanging it from a pendant. Beautiful Armstrong sealant, but you didn't want to mount the surface mount to that. You wanted it to be the same level. So we put the cables on it, mounted it in. Again, any length, like our codes, any length or shape we can accommodate. Direct, indirect. Now we're 1 inch by 20 millimeters, and it's lighting the entire space. Full office space, direct, indirect. What we have here is, you notice we have 2 different lenses as well. One's a soft tech lens, satin lens, where you'll see the diodes, where the bottom is nice clean line of light that we have for the rest. So if you have the, everybody's like, oh, there it goes. So here, we're using that sealant as a reflector to give it more ambient light there. So, but of course, Marissa didn't like the scalloping on the wall. Marissa's desk. So what we did was we put a section at the end of the same lens to soften it up, to keep it off the wall, but still giving that enough light going upward to get the book handle levels they require in their space. Plastered in, we just talked about, again, fitting in nicely. Custom corners is what the deal was with that. And the first time we did this, the interior designer actually gave me a rug runner, and I took it back to my engineer, and he's like, what do you want me to do? I said, measure the strips. They wanted this full angle to go down the wall of the space to match the dashes in the rug. So I didn't understand either at the time, but that's what we used. We measured it up. So we haven't seen it installed yet. Can't wait, but I want to see that light matching the rug runner. It's brilliant, just the way you're thinking about the space coming together like that. And I just passed around the surface mount. So when the surface mount is too big, 20 millimeters below the sealant plane, you ask your designer, can you recess it? So now we recess it into the T-bar grid as well. So again, any length, any shape. But it does, there's a lot going on up there. So you do mount it the same way you do the T-bar grid. So now we can still do a 100-foot run and break the mains. A lot of competition can't do that. The T shows it better, but the way it clips together, it becomes part of the structure. So even if you got a 2x4 sealant grid, you want 3-foot and 5-foot fixtures. We use a different element to mount to the half-cut grid. So it's a lot of different ways of bringing that whole space together that way. And you don't notice it. Yes, it seems to be a little different than the T-bar grid size, but when it's lighted, nobody's really going to notice it. So that's what I'm trying to show you up there. So same thing here. So we have surface mount, 16-foot runs on the surface hardwood sealant. but then the designer kept the same elegance with 16-foot recessed into the T-bar grid. So you see tegular tile, mounting the fixture the same way, and just utilizing the T-bar grid in there. So yes, you have to cut the tiles. The competition out there has one that looks the same as the T-bar grid itself, but ours is fatter behind it, so you do have to cut the tiles more. But again, we can break the main. Light source, we were at 50,000 hours to 70% of its value. So you need to keep it on all day long, for what 8 years, I think, now too. Everybody's dimming it now too, so that's even saving it. It's automatically dimmed. They're on aux sensors now, so that's doubling it. Think of it that way. So most of the challenges we have here in BC is, here we are 4 years later, a driver went out. So it's just that the drivers then get replaced.
Yeah.
So,
but they've also gone from a whole linear LED strip to little segmented, and then these are clipped in. So let's say just these diodes went out, you don't have to replace the entire linear run. You can actually just replace this small section.
so it's sustainable now. It's
We
sustainable
weren't like
now.
that when we first invented it.
Right.
People kept asking us, like, how can we be more sustainable? All of our clients want to be sustainable. What if something does fail? Then I got to replace the entire thing and cut it out of the chip. That's going to be a nightmare. And so they came out with this much nicer way of doing it, and that is literally less than an inch segment that we can replace it if something were to fail.
And nowadays, too, another one, we're getting more. So let's recess it. We can do this flush with our different baffles, or we can still recess the whole perimeter there and do optics. So if you're not looking for that decorative glow around the space and floating ceiling effect, we can actually do the narrow lens and graze that wall too. So now you have 15-foot walls, textured walls that you can just emphasize on one circuit and still make that space come alive. So that's one of our newest extrusions.
So some people really love the look of a lens fixture. Like, right, that's a lot. Sometimes we just want a quiet fixture that disappears. So the baffle system is really great. You've got an LED diode that's tucked behind it, and then when this is on, you don't actually see where the light will from. You only see it back to feel like.
Another concept I like to pass on. This was the plastered in. That's where I'm back to the plastered in though. But this is one plane, one ceiling plane that we did for a project, and my engineers were so happy because when I gave it to them, they thought it was, oh yeah, this will be plastered in. This will be surface mount, this will be pendant, 3 layers. I know the designer wants this all one plane. So to have that whole spoke, lighted properly without a dark spot in the middle is a great achievement for us. So we're proud of that. It's being installed now, so no pictures yet, but we did test it well and it looks great. But again, that's what white goods is all about, really bringing harmony to that space for you. Deck downlights, matching the linear slot lights, plastered in products, really just elegant architectural integration, families of products. So yeah, vertical to the horizontal. But what Inter-lux is all about, of course, is bringing the interior to the exterior and helping that architecture really come alive. So we have our Felix partner brand, and you guys are familiar with Felix, but we do pavers and design for interior, but engineered for exterior. So really great concept of stainless steel and glass. Just want to show you some of the quality of the product there. So now if you're doing these clean lines or squares or pavers or rounds in a space, you want to bring it to the outside, you can work with the architects there and help that space come up, pull together. So very clean line design. Again, 1 inch, 2 inch, 4 inch, 6 inch, 8 inch design. It'll look great in any space, any interior product, but it's engineered for exterior. So it's drive over rated, it's submersible. So a lot of different elegance there, whether you want the spot or the flood, you can sit next to this one all day. So the square and round, the different geometric shapes to help that architecture come alive, but nice clean lines of light. This won an IES award at the last IES thing, and this is 533 Connecticut.
Yep.
And so I love the cantilever of this whole frosted canopy, but it's all lighted with that one I'm passing around there now. Of course, they have enough light on the stairwells through rail lighting to achieve their codes, and then bollard lighting, to finish emphasizing. But this is the inviting part of it. It's this indirect lighting on this cantilevered canopy. Very nice.
So again, doing less is more, only 2 linears are uplighting the entire canopy.
Go on back there too.
Okay.
They follow all the way back. But accents or favors, I like showing this picture just because it's the one I'm passing around now. This is the Sean Collier Memorial, the Boston Marathon bombing. And what the designer did here was, he was 29 years old when he was shot. So they took 29 of those little 35 millimeter fixtures and put them in there and mimic the stars. I was really proud to be part of that. And that's at MIT. So again, it's just 35 millimeters, really blending into anything, more or less. Should be familiar with this one. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't believe it when Mark came to me and said, Eric, stand on this for an hour, jump on it, start, tell me how long it's going to last, and so it was great to be part of this project there. And we know the challenge with the trims right afterwards. So plastered in, or trimless or trim fixtures, we can do it all for you. But again, right? So yeah, or the customized dinosaur. But again, interior, round or square, just blending into any materials that you're looking for. The light just disappears. Again, your concept here is that beautiful line of light I just showed you, passed around. But here, notice we're pulling the texture out of that beautiful wall. Emphasizing that wall with the grazers, like different optics there. With ALM, another one of our, I like to consider our custom manufacturer. It really helps make spaces come alive. I like showing this. This was a exterior ring at the W Hotel, the Porte-Cochet exterior entryway. Many years. They took them down a few years ago. But to design a space like this, where the designer was just looking for these little floating candles off of the structure, but the architect said, we don't want anything going up in that beautiful stained glass. So we made this 8-foot hexagon, and we had to cantilever it to the Star of David to get this little ghostly elements coming down. So it was really challenging for our engineer department, where, of course, here, what are you trying to perceive in the space? What's your scale? These are 5 feet tall by 7-inch diameters. So again, different unlighted rings this time. But what is it that you're trying to perceive in that space? Color changing, El Paso Airport, usable light throughout a space, and cost effective. And if everybody's sick of rings, or we can just do shapes and arcs. So lighted or unlighted. And that's part of our element there too, of course, is what we're showing here, because now we can do pendants across the arcs to mimic that architecture in the space. Interlinear light, another one of our partner brands out of Italy. Great. Endless lighting solutions, folks. So this really helped Inter-lux get us to the next level to help you guys with your projects and really make the space come alive. So I don't want to bore you with downlights, but guess what? They're still in every project. And some of our smaller deep regress opportunities can really help make a space come alive. Again, it's not about the light fixture. It's about the light it's giving you. ICRI, good color rendering, emphasizing what you're trying to look for in there. So the lighting designer here saw this, and the original design was big 4-inch inserts into this 200-year Venetian ceiling, and whatever he's saying. And we're like, you don't need that. Let's do it with something smaller. But they didn't like the mouse traps. They did not like the mouse traps. They did use them. We did use them on this one, but we did come out with another design for our fixture as well. We came out with the new fixture. So this is a mounting device now. So this will screw into a hard ceiling, and you still install from below. So now you can have a 3D drop or flush on it, and still achieve the same lighting effects with the 4 and 6 watt fixture. So again, nice deep regress product offering, toolless entry, really cool stuff. And the gold has come a long way. Linear light actually canceled the gold because Middle East stopped buying it, and here we are. We've been showing it for 3 years. Every project has it on there, you know, so all our designers are loving it. So like, okay, so the new catalog just came out without the gold. We're like, wait a minute, we just bought 3,000 fixtures for one job, you know, like, so they put it back in. So the gold is coming back, so don't hesitate to lock it up. That does look a little warmer in the space in the ceiling plane, not on the floor. But it's really a great element to make a space come alive. And again, less with more, doing more with less. I mean, this is 1 inch, emphasizing some elements there. Small scale, decorative, glass elements. I'd like to show this one. This is the larger of the scale, but nice decorative crystals, you know, or mini downlights, whatever we're doing here. What are you trying to kind of see in that space there? So that one has to be a surface mount. We have them recessed. This one actually has to be surface mount, but half that size. But that's most of the light in the space. And we actually frosted it. That one's not frosted. This here we had to frost because it was too bright in the space. But again, the starry sky effect. Here's your smallest downlight out there, folks. And it's usable light. So that's it. Notice the heat sink on there. That's how we're getting enough power out of there to be usable. It's not just that fiber optic. It's not just a little piece of fiber up there not doing any light. Get some real light out of there. So here they used two of them, the small 6-watt and then a bunch of the smaller ones to give that starry sky effect. And if you haven't made it over there yet, the Arlington Observation Tower, the 360-degree walkabout, it's like the Empire State Building, just 30 stories high. And it was really great to see it. See the DC, the Pentagon, and they all talk about the different elements. But I'm just trying to show the scale of how high those ceilings really are. That's how they put it all the way around the space. Really cool stuff. And when we talk about the architectural integration and Inter-lux family of products, this is what it's all about. So I did have one of these with me. So these are so small, they just blend right in. So here the designer was saying, I want to light this bar. It's going to be the feature of this hotel. It's going to be inviting coming in. But I don't want to do tape light like everybody else. Even the structure itself, it's beautiful stainless steel, so they want to match the finish just in case the bottles have to come off. So we put one of these under every fixture, one fixture under every bottle. It just happens to be 1,600 bottles on the wall. So really cool concept.
You guys should check this out if you would have been there. It was definitely a challenge for this lighting designer because the fun space again was very shallow, so they couldn't have a lot of downlights in the ceiling. And so they're like, how can we utilize the space? Let's do vertical luminance. Let's create this wall of bottles. They did a lot of mock-ups with these little lights.
So even here, there's another pod over here. So there's another whole pod that comes around there. And I tell you, it's the best.
Makes it very unique.
Yeah. And we did get the call. Again, we talk about pre and post order service with Inter-lux. We did get the call. Catastrophic failures. We're opening in 2 weeks. We need your help. Oh my God. So we go there. These 100 work. These 100 didn't. These 100 work. These 100 didn't. Well, these 100 had the install sheet there. These 100 had it wrinkled in a ball. You know. So it's really cool to see it. And they one wired in parallel, the other wired in series. So they just didn't follow the instructions. But we had our team down there, helped them out, and everybody was happy. So. But I'm just going to finish up with Sattler. You guys are familiar with Sattler? You have a couple of fixtures over in there, beautiful Giradas. But again, making that space come alive. But it's not just rings, it's light in new dimensions. For instance, in a space like this, they needed to bounce the acoustics down. So they put the acrylic on the top to bounce the acoustics. Added the color temperature for atmosphere, the RGB, really cool stuff. Great shapes, new elegance. What we're showing here is this cool cylinder, inline cylinder, for a ceiling like that. So it used to be custom, now it's a standardized driver there. It's hard to hide some of the canopies. This won an architectural element a couple of years ago, an award. So we're matching the architecture with the different colors and paint, stuff like that as well. Adding more acoustics, so it's just a fabric, so it doesn't bounce the acoustics, it absorbs the acoustics. So if you're working with an acquisition in the space, it does have a value. Just great new shapes and designs that they have out there. But this is something new. What I like about this fixture here, the Polito, is notice it's only hung by one single pendant. So again, you can hang it up to down, you can hang it straight. That German technology, pretty cool stuff. They just have a little screw-on element on the end, and it's a balancer wall that goes in there, so you can have it in. It does still float with the AC, even though they tried to make it as small as possible with the aerodynamics shape of it and stuff like that. So it still shifts a little, but it's cool how you can have it hanging whichever way you want, just to that mechanical element. And yes, again, we talked about that real moss in our fixtures. We have vats and vats of real moss inside the factory. There's one lady just sitting there gluing it on there, you know, and making it a fixture, whether you put it on a wall or the ceiling. In Germany, they make these custom signs. I mean, they're massive. Everybody's going to the green walls, and this is what we're doing. This is DC here, so you have this beautiful there. It's still sound absorbing, really deafening. This is the wellness center in Tampa.
But it's mummified. It's not going to die on you.
Right, so it is a mummified. Thanks, Marissa. You're
Yeah.
sorry. It is mummified. They still haven't, you know, they haven't shown us how to make electricity and water work yet, but they're working on it, I'm sure. Right? But here we have nine of them in this one cafeteria. So they are treated for bugs as well. Anti-static. They're not going to be dust collectors. So, and they don't go in the lighting budget. They do go in the school budget, the decorative budget, things like that. So they are expensive, but it's doing more with less. That's what we're trying to achieve there. And that's our presentation for today, folks. So I want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you for lunch also.
Hey, let's rush through that.